afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm going to begin
you.
with a few administrative announcements. So the event is being recorded. You probably saw that come up on your screens. So please mute your microphones if you are not speaking. Turn on your videos and have a full name showing so our presenters can see their audience. The rules of engagement for the panel and the speaker program will be explained prior to the first person speaking, making their remarks, and help facilitate connections for the event by providing your name and point of contact info in the public chat channel. Include what you offer or seek from the Purple Connection community. The chat will be saved and cleaned up of any superfluous conversations, and then shared to everyone who attends in an email tomorrow. All people who have registered for the event will receive a link to the recorded program, as well as everyone in attendance, and that'll be in a few days, early next week. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the program. Hello, everyone. I am Emma Toops, the Executive Chair for American Warriors and the facilitator for the Purple Connection. This event is hosted and sponsored by Toops Consulting, LLC. David and I are connectors, coaches, and consultants in Toops Consulting, and we thank you all for being here. Welcome especially to those where this is your first Purple Connection event. For our new attendees, thank the person who invited you. They felt that you would be a good fit and be able to benefit or contribute to being part of this community. And to our regulars, it's good to see you again. Here is the event agenda. I'll do a quick introduction to American Warriors and the Purple Connection, and then introduce the educational networking program. We'll have 3 organizational representatives in 3 different categories. They'll make their remarks. The remarks then will be followed by a Q&A with the panel and community. These are going to be timed 8 minutes each for the presenters and then 15 minutes for the Q&A. That'll be followed by transition tips by me. And then I'll start wrapping up the event by ways for getting involved, some future events, and a preview for next month's lineup. All right, so the introduction to American Warriors and the Purple Connection. American Warriors is a special interest group of the ACA Business Club, which is a business club that is private, and it has the philosophy of business flows out of relationships. People do business with those that they know, like, and trust. So members of the club are committed to creating solid connections by learning and practicing the fundamentals of strategic networking and relationship building. American Warriors are club members who have an affinity with or support those who have served our country in public or military service. The mission statement of American Warriors is to provide educational and networking opportunities for patriotic citizens who are leaders in business, and we support the transition into private and public sector opportunities of active duty service members and first responders. The Purple Connection is one vehicle that American Warriors fulfill their mission. So the challenges of transitioning from the military is a very well-researched problem. It's evident by the multitude of military support nonprofits and community organizations that provide services to address these issues. Driving Community Impact is a white paper that was published in April of 2015, and it was conducted by the IVMF of Syracuse University. They determined after several years of research and thousands of surveys that the leading gap in services to address transitioning military issues was not the lack of services and support, but rather the lack of connectedness of the service and support. Very often, transitioning military will feel a loss of purpose. They'll feel isolated or misunderstood, or they feel overwhelmed for their need of help, but are disconnected or lack affinity to the people and culture of their new environment. So how do you solve it? You create a partnership of stakeholders who have a common goal for supporting American Warriors. The Purple Connection is a community of partnered stakeholders with a common focus of service, support, and sincere care so that we can effectively address the challenges of transition. Next slide. All right. So what's up with the name? There's actually two reasons for it. In government jargon, the color for joint is purple. When our military is operating overseas on a deployment, that environment is comprised of seemingly disparate entities with various and differing purposes, but they have a common purpose through the operation that unites and focuses their effort. The Purple Connection is an attempt to replicate this type of joint environment to support the American warrior in transition. Another reason is that when you combine the colors of red and blue, you get purple. So in the Purple Connection, we're facilitating the connection of individuals who identify more closely to either the military community or the military support and business community. And when they come together, it's a Purple Connection. Here are the vision and mission of the Purple Connection. We create awareness to enable access and then empower action through collaboration and encouragement to expedite reintegration, support growth and healing, and enable opportunities. We do this by regularly bringing together community experts and facilitating connections through educational networking. Here is the rules of engagement for our panel program and networking. Each participant will have 8 minutes to deliver their remarks. I will use a timer. The time can be stopped short and given back for specific Q&A to that presenter or used up entirely by the panelists. However, when the timer goes off, please wrap up and we'll move on to the next presenter. Once each presenter has spoken, there'll be 15 minutes for Q&A with the community. If you are uncomfortable with public speaking or want to remain anonymous with your question, you can put your question in either the private or public chat channel and I will ask it for you. Please be succinct in your questions and direct them to a specific panelist or to the community if it's a more general question. If you have a complicated question, you may ask it to discover if there is a subject matter expert in the audience, but if a response would take longer than 2 minutes to address the question, I'll recommend that follow-up be done after the event. After the Q&A, I will provide transition tips, which is an educational segment for paradigm or process shifts, or maybe a recommendation to resources that apply to the topic of the day, which is personal safety. After the presentations, if you haven't already, use the public chat to share your contact information, how you serve or need support from the community. The chat will be saved and all attendees will get a cleaned up copy in a future email so you can follow up with each other as you like. I will do event announcements and then start wrapping up the event. All right. Our first presenter is our veteran entrepreneur. Anthony Welch is the owner and primary trainer of Dragon's Hands Self-Defense Concepts, LLC. Tony is a Navy veteran. He's currently in the Army National Guard, and along with being trained in martial arts, he is also trained in forensic science and ballroom dancing. So Tony, you are up. You have 8 minutes. You can start your remarks.
Excellent. Well, hello. Happy St. Patty's Day, everybody. And again, I'd like to extend my thank you to all your service and support that you have all given. What I do is I provide practical, applicable self-defense concepts in your training environment, meaning I come to your facility, your business, your house, or wherever you are, and bring the training environment to you that are practical and applicable. All the training that I've done is all based from combat experience, because I have been in the zone, and additionally with all my years of martial arts experiences as well too. So I look at various aspects of safety, meaning prevention and awareness through education. So there's a greater emphasis on the prevention and awareness, along then with a final application of hands-on if we need to. Understanding what kind of threat level that you may have or may not be used to, and understanding that it's and that's why I call it self-defense concepts, not martial arts, because it's meant to work for you, not just for me or anybody else. So that way you are learning something and leaving comfortable that you can handle various situations. As for what I'm looking to do is, especially next month, is a assault awareness month. So I am doing two seminars held one in Overland Park and one in Shawnee. I'll have flyers out for more information about that. But one is specifically for women only. And this is a repeat session. It's a women's only anti-rape class where we come in and we actually get the females in those situations and show them to be able to overcome those situations. And then the other one will be held in Overland Park, and that's an open forum for males and females as well. Those are 2-hour events. We're also doing one more as well with what we're calling the mother and daughter awareness as well, where they're coming in. We have one of my assistant students, she's going to lecture over the information for sexual assault awareness, and then we're doing the other part with hands-on application. So, of course, my main idea is to help businesses and women interest groups, or even any group that needs for somebody to come in and do a long-term type of training, and not just what I call avoiding just the one class and putting as a checkoff, because that doesn't do anything. That doesn't provide you the proper training, and more important, the confidence to get out there and apply it if we need to. A lot of us military personnel understand that when we train in our environment, we train in our uniform, correct? That's how we were trained. So that's what I do, is I bring that same environment to where we go, and you're training in your regular work clothes, you're training in actually the outside environment, going to your car, going inside your house. It started with realtors, so I have a lot of realtor based clients. But again, then I also have married couples and individuals that allow me to come in, and we go through their house and actually do situational awareness and hands-on application to see what we can do to mitigate some of these situations. And so that's what I'm looking for, and provide awareness for safety for everybody. Everybody, as we know, with the tempo of COVID going through, high gas prices, we're looking at increased violence, especially with the summertime. Studies have shown that summer is a very, very increased awareness, or increased robberies, assaults, and all that. So it's very important that we get out there and start creating an environment for ourselves of safety and protection for others. Because I think a lot of people get this mistake that I'm good, I've taken a self-defense class, but it's actually for the rest of our human being. Because as military, we're trained for that, correct? We're not trained just to go out, we're not, and do this by ourselves. We're training as a team. So that's the environment I'm looking to do, is to promote a team environment so that we can be able to sit side by side as we go out there and be able to keep eyes open for people in the parking lot, or people walking with their kids and their family members. Just as we did in the past, we just apply it to what we're doing now. So that's what I have. And I appreciate everything. And again, if you have people, single mother groups, realtors, we've even trained in Virginia Beach with Girl Scout associations. And so we're looking to expand. So I thank you for your time, and thank you for listening, and look forward to answering more questions at the end. Emma, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, we have about 2 minutes and 45 seconds still left on your time. Anybody have a specific question for Tony?
Yes, Corky.
Tony, that sounds brilliant, and you'll find out what we do in a minute. We could definitely use you, and I want to connect afterwards.
Sounds good. I appreciate that, Corky. Thank you so much.
All right. I have a question. So you're located here in the greater Kansas City market, but there are members of the community who are now local to Kansas City. Are some of your programs and services available via virtual or maybe a different branch office of some sort that you may have trainers elsewhere from greater Kansas City?
We do travel, so I sit down with you, and once we start talking and seeing the distance and all that, we're able to calculate or put something together where I already have people asking from Chicago, even from the local areas of Haiti, Kansas, for some of their facilities. So that's the idea, is for me to go and our team to go abroad, wherever you need. And like I said, we'll sit down and look at the markers and see what we need to do to help out. So they're
right.
Just like us, there is no limitations. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So here's another question.
Okay.
So you'll do events that are private events that are specific to an organization or maybe even a household. Do you have public offerings as far as open to the public type training?
Yes, that's why I have the seminars that are open. The one that we're just, like, as I mentioned before, is an open forum, and that's going to be here at Overland Park. But I also do, like I said, just depends on the location of where people need it. So yes, I do. Open forum.
All right. Okay. Very good.
I have a question for Tony.
Yes, James.
I just sent you a LinkedIn connection. I noticed you had a thing on your LinkedIn connection about special discounts. Do you do special discounts for vets, military people, and first responders, or?
Yeah, once we sit down and see what we're looking at, it's all based upon, the group itself. So, I know there's people with a lot of, depends on the size of the group, et cetera, but we'll sit down and we can discuss that. Yes.
Okay, let's connect offline. I may have a way to help promote your organization.
Thanks, Mr. James. I appreciate it.
All right, very good. The timer just went off. So we will bring up our next presenter. Let me give her introduction. Thank you, Tony. Okay, next is our community organization. Corky McCaffrey is the Community Engagement Coordinator for Synergy Services, which is an organization that supports primarily women and children who've suffered domestic abuse. She'll inform us a little bit today of their services, programs, shelters, and other resources. Corky?
Emma, thank you so much. And I apologize for having to do this in my car. I feel like it looks a little bit less than professional, but I'm sure we all understand with nonprofits, we have to go where the money is when it's there. And I had a check presentation a minute ago that ran a little bit long, so I apologize.
It's all right. It's okay.
I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for the 501c3 not-for-profit Synergy Services. We are all about trying to end violence in the family. So we do a ton of community education, community outreach, mental health counseling, but we do walk all of our talk with 3 emergency shelters. One is for domestic violence victims and their children. It's called Safe Haven. One is called Synergy House. That is for homeless teenagers or teenagers who are in some sort of a crisis. And then the third is the one that so touches my heart. It's our Children's Center. And I always explain it this way so I don't ruin your whole day. These children have been taken out of some unfortunate circumstances, so they're going to come and stay with us for a while. You can imagine some of the things that these children have been through. So we actually had a little boy who came into our care after being found in his mom's attic. He was 7 years old and he weighed 23 pounds. So the first time he came into Synergy, he was terrified of everything. I mean, terrified of the people. He was afraid of the furniture. He was just uncomfortable with the very air in the room. The last time I saw this kid, and this is, of course, after several years of trauma counseling and therapy, he is walking up to our executive director, high-fiving her and saying, "What's up, turkey butt?" So We may have brought that kid back just a little bit too far, but that is exactly what we do at Synergy. We have figured out that as humans, we have this tremendous capacity for resilience. We can bounce back from just about anything as long as we have the appropriate resources to do that with. Another little boy came into our children's center. This little boy was, well, I'm guessing maybe 8, 9 years old, and he was visibly frightened. Then the next little boy who came in just was not going to have anything to do with us. There's a Southern expression that goes something like, I am not going to pick up on anything you're putting down. And that's what this other kid was like. He just wasn't, he didn't want to play with us. He didn't want to talk to it. No, just leave me alone. So when he saw, though, after a few days, the little boy who was still frightened, he actually went up to him and said, don't be afraid. They like kids here, which I think is the most beautiful testament to what we do at Synergy that we could possibly have. So as far as mental health counseling goes, we do all ages. You have to be verbal. So I'm thinking, what is that, 3, 4 years old up to whatever. If you do not have insurance, we will work with you on a sliding scale. It starts at $5. Where else can we get mental health counseling for $5 for a session? So, as I said, we are all about trying to end violence in the family, because if we could take care of it there, the whole rest of the world is going to heal itself. So we're very involved in the schools. We used our portion of the Children's Services Fund to put therapists into schools. School counselors are very good at, I want to go to college. How am I going to get there? How do I pay for it? What should I major in? They are not good at, I'm having the worst day of my entire life and I'm going to go home and shoot myself. That's where our therapists come in. So I know that with that funding that we were allowed, we have managed to save lives. There are only a total of 400 shelter beds in the entire city for victims of domestic violence. So needless to say, all of the shelters are always full. We had a woman who called one time with 5 children. That means she needs 6 beds in a shelter. No one ever has 6 beds at the same time in a shelter. But we knew when women call, we do. And men can be victims also, but the preponderance of victims are women. So I'll try to be more careful with my pronouns. But in this case, this was a woman. And after doing her lethality assessment, where we are trying to determine how much danger they're in, we knew if we didn't do something horrible was going to happen to her and or her children. In a matter of hours, we had converted. We used to have a downstairs playroom for younger children and an upstairs playroom for older children. In a matter of hours, we had converted that downstairs playroom into a 6-bed family room, thinking when this woman is able to go on with her life, move out of the shelter, we will have we'll never have another downstairs playroom again. That will always be an additional 6 beds. So we also, when people move out of shelter, we don't just go, oh, good luck, have a good life. No, we're providing aftercare and all of the typical resources that they need to get back on their feet. And we do work in that area with everyone involved, the victims, the children, and the abusers. We have what's called a batterers intervention program. These are people who have probably already been in trouble and they've had to go in front of a judge, and the judge has said, you're going to go do this program at Synergy. They're usually not very happy about that, but it does turn lives around. What is heartbreaking for me is I could walk into one of those classes and look at every single person in there and pretty much determine that that's how they grew up. They grew up in a home where they were abused or they witnessed abuse. So on that cheerful note, I think I'm getting close to my time. Am I not, Emma?
You have about 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Oh, okay. So just, we need your support. We need you, it's the old, when you see something, say something. I was at Hayes Hamburgers one night it was more like 2:00 in the morning, and witnessed a domestic violence incident going down. I was on my phone to 911 immediately, and the dispatcher goes, Hayes Hamburgers, where's that? And I went, who are you? The dispatcher for the police department, who would not know where Hayes Hamburgers is, was just beyond me. So stay safe, but say something, get help. So how'd I do? Am I at
Very
8 minutes? I
good.
was trying
40
to look at my
seconds
car
left.
clock too. So
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for that information. I have some
Thank you.
questions, but I'll save them for the Q&A period.
Perfect. Thank you,
All
Emma.
right. Great information. All right, we will bring up our third presenter. Okay, our third presenter is our military-friendly company. LaDawn VanKirk is an ID theft specialist and is representing ACN today. She's a regular TPC attendee and is now on the panel. And she comes to us from Pennsylvania. LaDawn, are you there?
I'm here, Emma. Thank you.
All right. Very good.
Okay. Just real quick, ACN 28-year-old company. They offer essential services. I focus on identity theft protection. We've heard about being aware as people. We've heard about abuse. Your information is what criminals are looking for. A lot of it, everything people do online, texting, emailing, posting, leaves a digital footprint, but it's not all online, because people will dumpster dive to steal your information. They will get into your mailboxes and steal your credit card offers. So it is online and offline. It is a big growing problem. It doesn't discriminate between age, income, location. If you have kids, you need to protect their information. It's one of the hottest markets for criminals. Why? Because it's a clean slate. No information is attached to it. I know people who have had their identity stolen. I know people who have had devices hacked. People tell me stories every day of things that happened to them or someone they know. Phone scams. Someone told me about their father who got a call from someone pretending to be from Microsoft. They were asking for a lot of money and a lot of things, but just be aware. So what is identity theft? Well, the term was coined in 1964. It's when someone fraudulently uses someone else's identifying information to commit crimes. A social security number, a credit card number, a bank account number. 1 in 3 Americans have experienced some type of identity theft. It occurs every 2 to 3 seconds. So what are some ways that it occurs? Well, we talked about a couple, but what are some things that people look for? Okay, you get an email from someone you know. Well, is there something that looks like it's not okay? The address is too long. I got one from a reputable company last week. It said, well, your transaction for $530 some. Well, I didn't make a transaction for $530 some. So I knew it was a fake email just looking for information. That phone call. I get phone calls and messages all the time. Well, your account here, your account there. Well, I don't have an account there. Sometimes people get something from Amazon, your delivery. Well, I don't order a lot from Amazon, so I know if I get one, it's probably a fake. But just some things to be aware of. So what are some ways that you can protect yourself? Well, set up alerts with your investment bank credit card accounts. Password protect your devices. We all get those little notifications. Hey, change your password, update your device. I have a new phone. had to get one last year because of the technology. This quirky phone will only update itself when I walk into a particular store for whatever reason. But as soon as you walk in, it updates. So what are some other things that you can do? Never, never, never post where your kids go to school. The name of a sports team. Why? Because someone out there looking to do something they shouldn't then knows what school your kid goes to, the team they play on, the time school starts, and the time school lets up. Post your pictures. Just make sure there's no identifying information in them. But Purple Connection, there is ways that people can protect themselves, and you should set up something. Something is better than nothing. But if something happens, the banks, the credit card companies are not going to fix it for you. So people need to have a service. This is becoming what some people would call an essential service. Identity theft is expected to cost $6 trillion in the next 3 to 5 years. And yes, that's trillion with 12 zeros. Cybercrime is on the rise. Criminals are smart, but unlike other things that move slow, technology keeps moving at a quick pace too. But you know, I have 3 nieces, grandnieces, 5, 3, and 3 months. That's part of what motivates me to do what I do. I don't want them to grow up, be 18, 21, go to school, get married, and they have 500 grand of debt, and they've never done anything to cause it. But so what are the advantages of having a protection service? Well, it'll bring you back a report of sex offenders that might be living in your area. If you have kids or grandkids, that's very important. It'll monitor your information on the dark web. You know, credit card number goes for about 50 cents on the dark web. So most people can probably afford that if they want it. It will bring you back a credit score every month. You can opt out of credit card offers. There's an encrypted vault if you have sensitive information, maybe tax information, medical information on your computer. You put it in the vault, it's masked, it's encrypted, so criminals on the hunt for your information are not going to find it. There's a host of other things that it does as well, but I'm not going to take all my time to tell you that. But I'm just going to say, you know what? Protect yourself, protect yourself, protect yourself. Because in today's world, especially with everything going on in other places, the hacking and stuff is on the rise, big time. Emma, you look puzzled. Okay. I'm just going to say, you know what? ACN offers other services, US, 26 other countries, business opportunity, anyone looking to start a business. But with that, you want to chat, my information will be in the chat, and I'm just going to open it up for any questions.
All right, very good. There's 2 minutes and 20 seconds left of LaDawn's 8-minute window. Any specific questions for LaDawn?
I have one.
Go ahead, Corky.
LaDawn, do you then help when identity is stolen? Do you have contact with lawyers or, because that's the, when we do get caught like that, okay, great. Now we know we're caught. What do we do now?
If someone's identity is stolen and you have the service in place, they will assign you a US-based agent to help you manage the process so that the effect has as small effect on your life as possible. They will guide you through the process. If something happens and you don't have it, you're on your own. A few years ago, the form from the government alone to start the process was 46 pages. That was several years ago, and I somehow don't think it's probably gotten smaller.
Good to know.
Good question. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you are our third presenter. There's about a minute left on your time, but I'm just going to roll that into the Q&A period, which we are about to start. So in the Q&A period, go ahead and ask any specific questions from our panel of experts. But also, if you have a general question about transition and you are seeking support or assistance or guidance, go ahead and ask that question, because we've got people on the call who may be that expert that you need, or we can refer you to the resource. So I'm going to go ahead and start our 15-minute Q&A period. And it's open to questions from the community. Who's got a question? Okay, I had a couple from earlier, so I will ask my question. This is for Corky, and actually it also probably applies a little bit to LaDawn, but because of the nature of the service that you provide, is there a established referral network with law enforcement and or health and medical, in the case of Corky, for the people that approach you with with the need for your help.
Yes, absolutely. We have advocates, we have court advocates. We work very closely with the police department. You can only come into our domestic violence shelter via a police officer. You can't just show up at our front door.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, they're very interesting. And a lot of that is, tied into what we do for aftercare. I don't want to take up more of my time, but this also should, relate to what LaDawn has. The latest field of domestic violence, this is just crazy to me, is technology. So for example, it's usually one person who will set up when the lights come on at the house, how the garage door opens, how do you turn this on, how do you do that? And the person who usually stays in the house is the one who doesn't know how that operates. So the police will get caught. Why is my garage door going up at 3:00 in the morning? Because the abuser is making that garage door go up at 3:00 in the morning. I'm just like, if only they would use their powers for good rather than evil. So that's the latest front, the technology front. LaDawn, are you aware of that also?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah. Good news.
Okay.
Corky, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you offer services virtually anywhere or in the area that you're in only?
Do you mean, well, all of Kansas City? Do you mean
No, I meant like
nationwide?
anywhere in the US.
Does your referral
Well-
network extend past Greater Kansas City?
Oh, I see what you're saying. In a sense, yes, because there are national domestic violence victim hotlines that we can refer to, but we actually very rarely get calls from other than Kansas City proper, if
Thank
that makes sense. We will sometimes have someone, I'm in Iowa, but I'm moving to Kansas City, that sort of thing. And that we get through a national domestic violence hotline, which I'm very sorry, I'm in my car and I don't have that number with me.
Oh, that's okay. Actually, some of my questions are because within the military community, it's very networked. Obviously, the nature of the military communities is very networked, but something that military service members are used to are having victim advocates within the unit, and those victim advocates are trained specifically to be peer support. Because they may see the incidents more than people higher up in the chain of command or people with authority. But those advocates then report it to an official, someone who has some authority to take action. And then there's a network of support as far as legal and health and services and even with parishioner, as far as faith, belief, and the level of transparency sometimes is because of a faith reason, right? So I was just wondering, how that might be replicated in some of the non-military community support services to, that nature of injury.
I see what you're saying. And that is, when someone comes into shelter or when someone reaches out for help, they are receiving wraparound services. And that would include an advocate, an attorney, a place to, even after you've moved out of shelter, we help with housing. If you talk about NIMBY, not in my backyard, no one wants to live next to a domestic violence victim because they're afraid of, the abuser is going to show up. And so we're very helpful as far as that goes. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
The question that had to do with the outside of the local area of Greater Kansas City, I know that this is something that I had to deal with when I was a rear detachment commander, but there would be times when there would be a family member who was in fear of their personal safety because of a domestic conflict of someone who lives in another state, right? So whether it's a spouse or some ex or some sort, the personal matter of personal safety sometimes extends past geography because, they come home or they get PCS'd, or, they get a new assignment to a whole nother location, but there's still issues there. So I think it's really it's really good to know that, the network that you have to offer is, more than just what is local, because sometimes that follows you, even if you try to escape it geographically.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have had victims who have escaped situations in other states. And so whatever we need to do to keep people safe. So I guess is the easiest way for me to explain what we do. We're just trying to end violence, and that could also be working with the abuser, not just the victim. So
All
if
right.
that's helpful.
Other questions for our panel or for the community at large? I have a question for Tony. Tony, tell us a little bit about how you work with community organizations about your self-defense concepts, and in the respect of being out and about in the community doing your business, or even if you're out and about recreationally.
I think it just, once people find out what I do, it opens up a big door for questions, or just a much needed to address the issue. And so what I do is I reach out through, of course, the ACA, but I have people reaching out through sitting down, doing one-on-ones with them, and they like to point out again, they give good information, such as not just the idea of doing the hands-on portion, but hearing people lecture. Like I said, I brought on a new person, but she's actually one of my former students who is now a major advocate for sexual assault awareness. And because of that, and I've heard so much, I've heard the need for it, that now since she's been on board, we literally have, like 3 days later, we had 6 businesses asking for her to come lecture, and producing more awareness through seminars. And so just really sitting down with people and seeing what they need, or have they heard, or what they have in place for awareness or self-defense. Because again, talking to realtors, for some, like I said, they have a safety standout once a year. And I explained to them, well, why do they do it once a year when the perpetrators are doing it 24/7?
Okay.
And so that's
so explain a little bit of what some of the self-defense concepts are. So I know, because I've attended several of your trainings, but for the community, why would self-defense concepts be something that real estate agents would need to have in their hip pocket to employ? What is it exactly that you mean?
Well, we talk about awareness. Like I said, the major thing of awareness of in generality, which people, even in anywhere, actually, we get so caught up in when we're talking to people and we're looking for other closes, or we're looking to respond for texts, and and we drop our guard.
Okay,
and
there you go.
what,
Being self-aware as well as environmentally aware.
Exactly.
And how you show
that's
up to others in your vulnerabilities.
Exactly. In fact, I had 2 links that you guys can click on if you want, and it just shows, because people think about this a closed environment when things happen, and one of the links actually shows on YouTube where a guy just comes up in public and punches a lady in the face out in the middle,
Unprovoked.
just really, and just boom, just out of nowhere. And of course, they arrest him and everything. But see, that's where the awareness comes in. Everybody thinks that self-defense is just about, oh, I'm on a date, or I'm in a closed environment. No, we have to be aware of what's out there, and having our head up. Our posture, as we in military are used to having, and yet sometimes we lose it. And that's why we wear a uniform, and people don't. We're told to keep our back straight, head up, chin up, and a lot of people out there don't do that. And that's what the perpetrators are looking for. So we look a lot on that, on making sure you don't stick out, like to be chosen to be attacked, but to be a deterrent just by the way your posture is, So, and then of course on the other video is the one where the realtor was attacked, But again, what I do is I walk through that and show people how close is too close. And she actually in that video, I don't know if they discussed it in that one, but she actually saw the person a couple of days prior riding around on a bicycle, circling around the house. And then when he came in and said he wanted to see the house, she didn't click with it and say no. And so,
Okay.
it's that, yeah,
All right.
it's being
Very good.
aware. Yeah, again,
All
that
right.
awareness. So yes, so that's the need. It's more of increased awareness of anything.
Yeah. All right. Very good.
Hey,
So
Tony, I have a question for you. Is that okay?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes,
I'll
Logan.
go with the question in the channel after you say yours.
Okay. Hey, Tony, I was just thinking, you were talking about awareness and things like that in your seminars and in your trainings. Do you offer like situational awareness instruction? So like reading body posture and body language, looking for pre-assault indicators and all these things so we can be situationally aware to that potential attacker as a real estate agent, and then create that distance for, like our reactionary gap, so to speak.
Actually, yes, I do. In fact, that's one of the main steps. I think that's what makes me a little different, as Emma came to see, is that it's just not showing you how to do a high block, low block, yeah. It's actually right. That's what I talk about, is just like in the military, but that's where I say it's a lot of the indicators we've learned. Who's sticking out? Why is that vehicle parked over there? Why is that person wearing a jacket during the summer? Are you listening to what they're saying and hearing what they're saying as well? Because we can talk about, like I said, specific indicators when somebody's talking. When they go through that, I talk about the stages of an attack and a sale. These guys know exactly what you're going to do, from the opening to walking around the house to overcoming objections. And if they're not asking questions, why aren't they? And are you picking up on that? If you talk to somebody about the housing and they're not talking about, the price point or the increase of wood or anything like that, they're not participating in it. That's a major indicator, because that's, so I talk about, body awareness, situation awareness. And I use the video that you guys click on, and I would literally walk through that whole thing and show you the mistakes. And then we walk through ourselves in that situation awareness and show you, the defensive tactics that may need to be applied. So it is a major thing, safety and awareness. So I just don't talk about, again, beating, what people think about beating people up. I think about using, like in combat, it's what it is. It's an assault. It's not a fight. And we go to war, we have to use this. We just can't go pulling the trigger. So that's what I talked about. We use this first. And
Very
then
good.
engage.
I think
Thank
there's
you.
lots of potential for collaborative support within the community for the various things we have to offer. So the question that was in the chat channel by April is, let's see here. She's working on a self-care awareness program for women and was wondering if a program like this can be linked to the needs of any of your services, those on the panel. And LaDawn had a quick response there as far as it being relevant. Corky, what do you think?
It could be. If maybe she could tell me more, if we could connect later and tell me a little bit more. Yes, it definitely could be. And Tony, while you're there, I also want to connect with you later. I think you could provide some wonderful services at the DV shelter.
Yeah.
So yeah,
absolutely.
I know that's rather a vague answer for April, is it? But yeah, if you could tell me a little bit more about that, it sounds like something that, yes, we would be very interested in.
Okay.
All right.
I
Very
put it-
good. Well, our Q&A period has come to an end. And so we will move on. Thank you, everyone who asked a question and participated on the panel and in the Q&A. And we will move on to the transition tips. Okay, so Toops Consulting is focused on supporting students as well as adults in life, school, career, or business transitions. However, this part of the program is not about me talking about my business, but to provide tips pertaining to the topic of the day. So I'm going to offer some insights and perspective regarding paradigm shifts pertaining to personal safety. So a few things to think about, a few distinctions about safety and security, which a lot of the time these words are used interchangeably, but they're not necessarily the same. So safety is a condition of the environment and which actions take place such that harm is less likely to occur. So for example, for a room that has a slick floor, one might need to put up a sign when it is wet, or maybe put in a rug or carpet to create a little bit more traction, or have signs up that prohibit running. So some of what we have heard in the remarks by Tony and some of the questions asked by Logan is creating a more safe environment as far as harm because of the way that you appear to others, right? You have your head up, you have your posture straight. So actions that improve or decrease safety conditions are described as being safe or being unsafe. That's even true with some of the, identity theft concerns that LaDawn had mentioned in her remarks. So wearing a seatbelt in a car versus not, or texting in a car while driving versus not. Okay, so safety is a condition of the environment. Security is more about the mindset one has within an environment regarding being safe or free from harm. So you might feel secure in your own home, but still become a victim of abuse or a burglary. You may feel you are secure in the way that you conduct yourself in your personal information management, but still get harmed, right? So personal safety and security, I mean, they go hand in hand, but they're not exactly the same. So in the military, safety and security is imperative in everything that we do because the nature of the environment, right? It's highly dynamic. There's a lot of things that are unpredictable. So there's always a high potential for injury or damage if someone is not paying attention or is unprepared for things that may happen. Okay, there's a multitude of processes, systems, and things that are governed by specific guidance, policies, regulations, rules. And it's not just our work, it's all parts of life and work and community and in varying environments. And it also includes kind of how do we conduct ourselves when we're encountering other people. So, the question of what constitutes a safe environment. How does one conduct themselves in communication or manner? It changes based on where you are, in the office, during physical training, in a classroom, in a social setting. Even if you're out on the, in the motor pool, out on a firing range, or if you're in the field or on a deployment. All of those things have guidance, rules, regs for safety and security. And this very structured and controlled environment, because of the rules and processes that basically tell us how to do it, there's a high level of safety and a high level of security because everybody understands it for the most part, and there's a common compliance by everyone to those expectations. So accountability and enforcement of these expectations is usually predictable because everybody has a common understanding. It's individual discipline and behavior, and non-compliance as far as consequences when you aren't following the rules. We understand what that is too, as an individual, as an organization, and within the community. So in the military, any unfamiliar environment is deemed unsafe and unsecure until we investigate it. And then there's a level of safety and security that is established for immediate stability. And then we improve upon that level of safety and security when resources are time and resources allow. So these unsafe and unsecure environments, those are generally in operational environments, like we're on a deployment. We don't know what to expect of the environment or of the people. We don't generally have that mindset for unsafe or unsecure when we're talking about the average household being at home station or within our military communities, because it's very structured, okay? Outside of a structured environment, the meaning of safety and security, the expectations, the systems, the processes, the rules, and the behaviors, they're not so well controlled. So there's a full spectrum as far as what is the expectation, what is the meaning. That spectrum can be on one end of having no rules and it's chaos, to being so strictly controlled that it's draconian and authoritative. So because of that spectrum, there's a lot of potential for not being at the right level of safety or security based on the environment, right? What is safe or secure? What are the needs required in certain environments? Okay, structural is there, but in pockets, right? There's invisible borders, such as local, state, federal jurisdictions, organizational structure, regulations, or culture, the systems and processes as far as how does a certain company or organization or even industry does business. There's individuals, leaders, as well as grassroots who have influence. All of those things are really kind of undefined necessarily. I mean, here in Kansas City, how many jurisdictions are there, right? Where I live in Shawnee, Kansas, and where other folks like on the other side of the metro in Lee Summit or Blue Springs, right? So vulnerabilities exist inherent to the environment. But when your sense of security is flawed to the actual risk because your perception, your expectation is set in a different environment, you can get hurt, right? Do you feel like you are safe and secure in the way that you conduct your yourself, how you manage your information, right? That you are in a household that is safe or secure, right? So whether you're hyper attentive or oblivious, how you portray or conduct yourself to others, recognize that safety and security are usually very personalized due to varying perspectives for what does it actually mean. And your individual habits and behaviors, your physical geography and location, your expectations, and your level for risk is all part of what is safe and secure for you. Do you need to be more attentive to yourself or to the environment? Are your behaviors and communications compliant to the needs of the environment? In what ways are your perceptions possibly flawed, right? How do you know what or isn't safe or secure? Might you need some general instruction, or might you need some personal attention and support to address those concerns? So we have plenty of folks in our communities who can support those type of needs within the Purple Connection and in the communities at large. So be cognizant of what your gaps might be in your knowledge or in your behaviors, and seek out the appropriate help as applicable. All right. I will start wrapping this up. We're getting a little bit behind. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so if you're interested in continuing to participate more intentionally in facilitated conversations on various transition topics, I invite you to consider becoming an American Warrior of the ACA Business Club. So there's a lot of benefits to being a member of the club. You have access to any of our business club facilities wherever they happen to be. We do have clubs in other metro locations. We also have a virtual club now for those located in areas that do not yet have a brick and mortar club. You'll have access to over 20 interest groups where the American Warriors is only one. There's opportunities to join a business development team, and you'll have access to multiple sponsored and organized club events that are networking or educational every single week. The Purple Connection and the Strengths Profile workshops are sponsored, organized, and facilitated by Toops Consulting, and club members are always invited to attend and invite guests to participate in those as often as they can. Other opportunities include becoming part of the leadership team, and we have routine events in American Warriors for people to engage in discussion and networking. For future events, next week is the monthly American Warriors discussion roundtable. It's going to be on branding. We'll talk a little bit about value proposition, purpose, and reputation for those who attend that. Basically, what is your perspective on what these words actually mean? The Intro to Strengths Profile workshop is now on demand. You can contact me if you or a group are interested in learning about using the Strengths Profile assessment to help improve self-awareness on strengths, learned behaviors, or weaknesses, and how to apply that knowledge to your personal or professional growth. You can also contact me if you'd like to take the assessment and receive a free starter profile. And of course, there's the Purple Connection, which is the third Thursday of each month. So next month, a month from now. Next slide. TPC referrals is in a few weeks. It's an opportunity to connect with me or up to 3 other members of the community. I'm attending a community event on April 12th because I usually do this on a Tuesday and a Wednesday each month. So in April, we will only have sessions available for April 13th. Appointments are 20 minutes long. Participants will introduce themselves, connect as far as the support that they may need, and then ask for something specific. Those on the call then respond to the asks with referrals, guidance, or opportunities. The invitees are engaged in the military sport community. They're growing their business. They're American Warrior or someone potentially in transition, and everybody has a servant leader mindset. So the invitations for TPC referrals will go out in about a week or so, obviously in advance of appointment time so that you can sign up for what will work for you. Next month, our lineup for our program, the theme is In the Neighborhood. Thursday, April 21st, our veteran entrepreneur is Steve Soroy, the owner of Call Sign Brewing. Our community organization is going to be represented by Adam Timmerman of the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce. Our military-friendly company will be a store leader, Kelly Bullis of Whole Foods, and I will offer the transition tips. Contact me at my email or phone number. You can also look me up on LinkedIn to learn a little bit more about what all I am about. For any questions that you may have regarding American Warriors or the Purple Connection, or even members of the community who you may not have had an opportunity to connect with through the chat channel, you can always ask about those things through me. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Have a good evening. Follow up with each other, and we will see you at a future event. Thank you.